What's up, everyone? It's Pastor Andrew and Lauren. We're talking about dating.
Yep.
So what's the big idea that we're trying to get across?
So our big idea is just this, that we should never neglect our first love.
So that's out of Revelations 2, which we're going to be getting to in just a second. But first, we got some Q&R, which, by the way, we're going to be a little bit savage in our responses, but that's because we're like presenting the truth, biblical truth. We're not trying to step on toes. So what are some good reminders before we dive into that?
Yeah, hey, we just want you to know that if you maybe have not put God first in one of your relationships before, that's okay. And there's grace for that. And to be honest with you, we both dated in high school.
Yes.
And there were moments when we didn't put God first in our relationships in high school.
It's true. So let's do this. Questions you asked on Instagram, we're answering them right now. What's the first question?
Is dating young a bad thing? And when is the right person to date someone?
That is a great question. Is dating young? What's the right time to date? Here's what I would say. Big thing. If you are not leading yourself well, you will likely, or I could say absolutely will not lead a relationship well. So if you're not old enough or mature enough to lead yourself in your own disciplines and your own self-control, then it's not going to get better if you go in a relationship. If you're struggling with an addiction right now, it's only going to be amplified and then multiplied by the issues of the other person's. And I'll add this. You need to ask your parents. Okay, like mother, father, spiritual father. Really, that's like 10 Commandments stuff. Now, next question. This is for you. What are some great physical boundaries in the realm of dating, and then some spiritual disciplines that kind of boot that, and how does that work together?
Yeah, so I'm going to start with spiritual disciplines. Spiritual disciplines need to limit who you date and also when you date.
Now, like when it comes to your spiritual disciplines, they dictate your physical boundaries. What are some boundaries that you and I set up?
Yes, yeah, for sure. So your spiritual disciplines, like Andrew said, dictate what your physical boundaries will be, because the closer you are to Jesus, the easier physical boundaries are for you. And so for us, when we were planning like, hey, what are our physical boundaries going to be in dating? We knew that the when and the where often define the what. So what that means is like where you are together, like physically where you are, and how late you hang out are often going to define what boundaries you're going to cross. And so what we did is we said, hey, we're going to be super practical about this. We're not going to kiss in the car. We're going to wait 6 months before we kiss. We're not hanging out past 11 p.m. because...
Which I know that sounds insane.
Yes, I know.
but seriously, we wanted to have some of these things that we look forward to.
Yes, absolutely.
Like whenever I told her I loved her, big deal. When we had our first kiss, big deal, because we waited. Last question. Lauren, this is for you. Is dating in high school worth it? And let's even just throw it out there. In high school, I feel like a lot of people date just for like the experience of dating. So is that wise, unwise? Give us your take.
Yeah, so one of my favorite pastors to listen to, Jeannie Mayo, she says that dating is a dress rehearsal for marriage. And so if you think about it right now, you don't want to just date for experience. Like, I promise you, if you want to be the best wife you can be, the best husband that you can be, you don't need to date to do that. You just need to follow Jesus to do that.
And you just need to ask yourself why you're dating in the first place, or why you're wanting to date.
Yeah, that's
Are you dating because you're lonely? Bad reason to start dating. Are you dating because you feel pressured to, because everyone's doing it? Bad reason to be dating. If you're dating because you're like, man, this person has a shared values, I can actually see this someone who I can spend the rest of my life with, this is the type of person that I want to do life with, then it's like, your parents' blessings, explore that and begin to see what it's like, and stay out of the trap of thinking like there is the one. God actually lets you have like free will participation in his plan for your life, because he knows what you're going to do before you do it, even though he doesn't make you do it. And it's all crazy like that. It's called sovereignty of God. We can talk about that another time. But now, let's circle back to our main idea for this entire idea of dating. What's our big takeaway here? And
that's the big takeaway, is never neglect your first love.
Yeah, so it's out of Revelations chapter 2. And if you can imagine this is happening, Jesus is having like a coaching conversation with his 7 primary churches in like the 1st century AD. So there's like 7 churches, 7 cities. This specifically what we're looking at, starting in verse 1, if you want to get your paper Bibles out, because you can't be flipping back and forth if you're watching the video. So Revelations chapter 2, starting in verse 1, he's talking to Ephesus, which is the same people that Paul wrote the letter of Ephesians to, and he starts out like this. Check it out.
Yes, it says, I know all the good things you do. I've seen your hard work and patient endurance. I know that you don't tolerate evil people. You have patiently suffered for me without quitting. So this is Jesus like actually complimenting the church right here.
So like, even you may feel like you haven't been doing the best job. Jesus is saying like, hey, I see the good stuff you're doing.
Yeah.
I see you watching this video right now. I see you showing up at church at groups, reading your word, praying. He's like, I see you. I got you. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
But then he flips it around. And he says next, starting in about verse 2 or 3, he says, but I have this complaint against you. He says, you don't love me or each other as you did at first. You have forgotten, or some translations say, neglected your first love. Look how far you have fallen. Turn back to me and do the works of love you did at first. So this is like a big oof.
Yeah.
It's like that hurts to hear.
Absolutely. And honestly, basically what he's saying is, you've put something above me in your heart. Like, I'm no longer your first love. You've made other things, other people, relationships, your first love instead. Yeah. And so it's so important for us to look at this and really examine our hearts and say, man, what is my first love? What's my first priority?
Yeah, and it could be anything.
Yeah.
It could be like your future plans. It could be a sport. It could be a relationship. It could be your family.
Yeah.
Nothing can take first place. But we even see the potential dangers of doing this. So let's check it out, wrap it up in verse 7.
Yeah, it says, if you don't repent, I will come and remove my lamp from your lampstand. Now talk to us about that because...
Yeah. Revelations is full of imagery. So the lamp is representative of Jesus' power and presence. And then the lampstand is the church, or in this case, we're talking about you. So Jesus is saying is if you don't put me first, my power and presence cannot be manifested in your life in the way that I want it to. So if you're not putting him first, you don't get to experience all the blessings that God wants. You don't get to experience God's best for you. And that's why we want to keep God first, is because we want his best.
Yeah.
And so we do everything we can to keep him first, because we know that's going to be the most empowered, the most walking with God that we possibly can.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to say this to some of you guys. Man, there have been seasons in Andrew and I's life where we have put something else first on our hearts. And some of you guys may be in that same position right now where you're like, hey, I just don't feel like I have the passion for Jesus that I once had. Yeah. I feel like I'm not connecting with the Lord as much. And if that's you, it may be that something else is kind of in the spot that Jesus should be at. And so you can decide today, hey, Jesus is going to be the first priority in my life with my talent, with my time, with my thought energy and what I'm putting my energy into. And that is so important for us to do.
Either way, in dating, never neglect your first love. Yeah. Really, if you want to be great at dating, you need to first be great at leading yourself in your personal relationship with God and being a whole, confident follower of Jesus before you ever even step into one. We got one more thing to tell you. This is kind of the fun part that we've been looking forward to. There was one time where the police got involved while we were dating. I think
that sounds so bad. First of all,
it was scary. It was horrifying.
Like a little scary. Okay, so Andrew and I were very committed to our boundaries while we were in dating. Doesn't mean we were always perfect at it, but we were very committed.
Let me tell you the 3 that were at play. Yeah. So first thing, no kissing after 10, no kissing in the car, and no kissing at the church.
Yeah.
And so we're driving. It's like 9:50.
Yep.
Your car's at the church to drop you off.
We've been dating for probably 8 months at this time. So
and we're also like in our 20s, okay?
Yes,
and we both have jobs, and we're both seniors in college. But anyways, besides that, I pull off at this cute little like cul-de-sac by the church, and then it's like the stars are out, and I'm like, you know what? We're gonna get out of the car. We're gonna go by our boundary. I'm just gonna give a little mwah, like a little just like good night kiss, right? And then
we see lights flashing and hear sirens all over the place. And this cop pulls up, flashes all of his lights on us, and is like going off on us.
You know, we said like Jesus has happened. This dude was extra. Like he pulls up and he's like, you know, there's drug deals happening here every night. You both could have been abducted. And then he says, where are your parents?
And we're like, wait, sir. We are literally adults right now. Like, we are not.
Which is weird. No one ever thinks I'm younger than I am.
Whatever.
We love you guys. This has been Simping Week 3, Snowpocalypse edition. We can't wait to see you this Sunday for groups on campus. And next week is Simping Week 4, where Joey, Alcala, and Stacy are going to be talking about marriage and family. So if this has been a blessing to you, make sure to share it with someone you know. And we'll see you around.